and welcome back to AntsGamingSuite. This is your host Anthony, back with another NARAKA BladePoint, and this game has absolutely taken the Battle Royale fan community by storm for all the right reasons. While it's spooning in a ton of players from different games coming across to NARAKA BladePoint, it isn't an easy game to master, especially after 2 weeks since its release. The game has been fairly darn intense, and as you play through the first few games, you will realize how complex it does get, especially sometimes with the lag or the combinations. But don't give up just yet, because I've been playing the game, on and off. There's different combos and skills that are better suited for certain players or your play type. But anyway, this video I am going to share with you my top next 5 tips, part 2, to help you become a better player in NARAKA BladePoint. But before we jump into it, make sure you hit that subscribe, smash that like button, and without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, here we have our first tip, number 5 here, counting down. Now, the last tip was mostly targeted towards the new players, as the ones that I've previously shared in my other videos. But tip number 5 is getting those TAY back. Okay, there is a huge problem in this game where a lot of players are spending their TAYs on cosmetics looks that absolutely do nothing. But if you're already gambling them away, how do you earn them back? So there are several methods to do that. Well, fortunately, what you can do in order to obtain TAY is to do all the quests that you can. They are very simple, and you can usually earn a significant amount of TAYs, which you can use to upgrade your glyphs and whatnot. The next thing you could do is loot the enemies once they are down. The more players you loot, the more TAYs you get. So the more upgrades you could buy. Even surviving for a longer time in the game can get you more TAYs than dying early on in the game. So that is tip number 5. Counting down to tip number 5, don't pick unnecessary fights. While it might make sense for you to go an all in and try to kill as many players in the game as possible, just to loot their item, it's not the best strategy to get a win under your belt. So a lot of the time you come up with a whole bunch of players having a nice little combat going on, there's a huge battlefield, and naturally you're going to think, okay, maybe I should join the fight and take them down as well. And there's always a chance that that can work out, but don't. Just wait it out and scan the area around you, because there's more often than not more players just waiting to engage on the battle itself. When you are sure that you're going to take the advantage, or you have the upper hand than the other players, that's when you need to jump in. So you need to understand, when do you jump in, when do you not jump in. But if you already have a few kills and you're not entirely sure whether or not you should jump in, wait it out and find the right moment to ambush. That is my advice. That is tip number 4. And we're moving down to tip number 3 here. It is don't spam your attack. A lot of beginners see this game as just a combination of Street Fighters or even some kind of Battle Royale, and start spamming multiple attacks in hopes that you will land a combination attack to kill your enemy. But that's not the case. NARAKA BladePoint comes with its own pace depending on the animation time, that you kind of have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. Is this the right time to do this combo, or is it the right time to do your ultimate? So instead of blindly spamming all these particular attacks that don't register sometimes, and you end up across the map because you've dashed by accident, make sure that you want to be very patient in terms on how you do your damage. That is tip number 3. Which leads me into tip number 2 here. Get your combos right, okay? As the game is mostly about getting intimate with your fights, learning about the short range combos can decide the fate of your match. Now this is where things get a little bit complicated, as different weapon tends to have different combos. So before you start getting creative with all the weapons, it'll be much better if you can figure out which weapon works best for you. You can simply jump into a training ground and have a play with which weapon you prefer, as some weapons are more suited for extremely close range combat like the dagger or the katana, as it tend to be much faster in terms of attack. But there are other weapons that are closely better for mid-range, for example the spear, the longsword, or the greatsword. They tend to be a lot slower in their animation, but you deal a hefty amount of damage. So you need to figure out which weapon goes well with your playstyle and then work up your combos related to the particular weapon. Okay, now this leads me into the final tip that I have, and it is to take things slow. Now, I have already mentioned this in my previous video, but I'm gonna say this again. Don't rush things. Some players tend to be fast learners, A, because they have gained more gaming experience in these type of combat games, or B, they just spend most of their time playing game. So there's no need to get tilted just because you don't get your combos right in the first few match, or you can't get that parry time up correctly. Just take a deep breath and relax. Even taking a short break after a couple match proves to be a game changer for most of the pro players, because playing a bunch of games consistently might get you burnt up and take a toll on your gameplay, so take it easy. With that, we have reached the end of our video, and I hope you have liked it. And if you did, make sure you share it with your friends, because sharing is caring. That's it for today, and I'll see you guys in the next one.